Good afternoon, directors. As the Deputy Corporate Officer, I will call this meeting to order and start the meeting by recognizing that we are conducting our business today on the traditional and unceded territory of the Comox First Nation, who are the traditional keepers of this land. The first order of business today is the election of the Chair and Vice Chair of the Comox Valley Regional District Board of Directors. I will begin by calling for nominations for the position of Chair. Any director may put forward another director's name. I will call for nominations 3 times, and at the close of nominations, I will ask each nominee in reverse order from which they were nominated if they will let their name stand for election. If more than one director is nominated, each candidate will have 3 minutes to make a campaign presentation. Following the speeches, I will ask that you either print the last name of your selection for chair on the colored ballot in front of you using the pen provided, or submit electronically, but I see all of the directors are here in attendance, so we'll just ask that you print your name selection on the colored ballot. The ballots will be then collected by Lisa Dennis, and then Lisa, Lucy Wacharek, our Chief Financial Officer, and myself will count the ballots, and I will then announce the results. If there are more than 2 candidates and no candidate receives a clear majority of ballots on the first ballot, of votes on the first ballot, the candidate with the lowest number of votes will be removed from the ballot, and the voting will be conducted again. This process will be used until there is 1 candidate who receives a clear majority of ballots cast. If there are 2 tie votes, the board will have to pass a resolution to either determine the election of chair by the drawing of lots or to start the election process over. The process for the election of the vice chair is the same as I've just described. However, candidates will be allowed just 2 minutes for their speech. Following the elections, I will ask for a resolution to destroy the ballots. And at this point, are there any questions on the process? Seeing none, I will call a first time for the nominations for position of chair of the Comox Valley Regional District Board of Directors. And Director Grieve.
Thank you. I'd like to nominate Director Will Cole Hamilton.
Thank you. I'll call a second time for nominations for position of chair. And I'll call a third and final time for nominations for position of chair. Seeing no further nominations, Director Cole Hamilton, do you allow your name to stand for position of chair? I do. All right, then I'm pleased to announce you as the chair of the Comox Valley Regional District Board of Directors.
Make Comox Valley great again.
Oh dear. I will now conduct the election for vice chair of the Comox Valley Regional District Board of Directors. So I'll open the floor for nominations for the position of vice chair. And Director McCollum.
I'd like to nominate Director Kerr.
I'll call a second time for nominations for vice chair. And I call a third and final time for nominations for position of vice chair. Seeing no further nominations, Director Kerr, do you allow your name to stand for vice chair? And I'm pleased to announce you as vice chair of the Comox Valley Regional District Board of Directors. And with that, I will turn the microphone over to Chair Cole Hamilton.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for entrusting your faith in me for another year, and I'm glad to be working again with Director Kerr as vice chair. But I just want to start by taking a moment to observe the passing yesterday of Senator Murray Sinclair. As part of our commitment to reconciliation, we read one of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to actions each day when we open our meetings. And of course, as chair of that commission and its driving force, Murray Sinclair will be remembered for years for that contribution. And I personally have admired his wisdom and dignity for many years. And I would just ask that we take a minute of silence to recognize this remarkable man and the contributions he's made. So we can bow our heads for a moment. Right, thanks everyone, I appreciate that. So I just wanted to reflect back upon this past year. It's been a really positive year in my view, and I want to thank staff for making me feel so welcome as a new chair and for the support they've offered when I proposed initiatives or changes. Particularly, I want to thank my CAO, James. We both started within days of each other last year, and I appreciate him being there to support me along the way, and also Vice Chair Kerr, who took on his new role with enthusiasm, and particularly I appreciate his ability to stand in for me at UBCM when I had to be in Ottawa for FCM. That was greatly appreciated. I think together the three of us formed a really strong leadership team, and we have a really positive working relationship, which means a lot to me. Some of the things that have moved forward this year is I think there's a need to always to try and bring the municipalities and the areas more closely together. And since the beginning of this year, I've made it my practice to attend all Black Creek, Oyster Bay and Electoral Areas Service Committee meetings, and also attending the Electoral Areas Forum in Richmond in January last year, and plan to do again this year. I've also seen value in connecting with other local governments. We've increased the number of elected officials forums from 2 per year to 4. I also drafted resolutions on the EWR and housing authorities and work with the mayors in the region to try and bring as many local governments together so that we could have a team Comox Valley approach when we come to UBCM, having all passed the same resolutions. And I also saw the value in working together with other RD chairs. And despite the fact for James and I, it was our first time going down in March to the annual Chairs and CAOs Forum. We were able to propose to our colleagues the idea that there be a single point of advocacy that comes out of that meeting, and that we bring it all to UBCM together. And this year the focus was EDMA, the Emergency Disaster Management Act. And we were successful in bringing 10 chairs to the meeting with Minister Ma, and it certainly does make an impression when half the landmass of the province is represented by people who are sitting opposite you at a table. And I see two parts of that that are of value. One obviously is the actual advocacy on EDMA, and the other is to start a tradition of every year when the chairs get together. There are only 27 of us, and we do something unique. And it seems like an opportunity for advocacy. So I'm hoping, and I'm certainly will be driving in March when I see folks, to make this an annual thing, that each year we work to settle on a point of advocacy that affects every regional district in the province. And we speak together with one voice to the province. And I guess a few other things more internal to within our board. I think we've been working well on building our strong working relationship with the Comox First Nation, with elected council and staff. And also seen the instigation of a new risk management policy, which I think is going to be a really important step forward. The developing of the new CAO review policy. And yeah, that's kind of a summary of some of the things that I think that have moved forward to some degree in this last year as chair, and I'll be looking to the board for suggestions on other ways that we can seek to continue improving. We were left in great stead by the previous chair, Kettler, and it's been an honor to walk in her footsteps and do what I can to try and move things forward. So I look forward to working together with all of you, both directors and staff, over the coming year. And with that, we'll get to work. And the first piece on today's agenda is a recommendation for a closed meeting. If someone cares to move that. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on that? All right, seeing none. Any opposed to the recommendation? And that carries. We also have minutes to adopt, the minutes for October 22nd. Thank you. And seconded, thank you. Any questions? Anyone opposed? And that passes. The board code of conduct policy, I understand that our corporate officer is not able to be here today due to illness, and I believe we're going to try and move this to a future agenda. And that was our CAO's suggestion, so I'll pass it to him.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, Jake Martins, our General Manager of Corporate Services, would have introduced this this policy. Part of the policy is to review it annually, and we've often done that at the inaugural meeting. Given Jake's absence today, we would ask the board to consider just referring this to the next available board meeting. I think that's the end of November, and a verbal update would be provided at that point.
That's been moved and seconded. Any questions on that? Any opposed to referral? All right, thanks very much. Next piece is the appointment to the Vancouver Island Regional Library Board. The current director representative is Director Hardy, and Director Grieve is the alternate. So if someone wants to move a recommendation with names, that would be appreciated.
I'll move that.
Oh, sorry, a motion for receipt. Seconded. Thank you. Okay, thank you. We've now on receipt, and Director Grieve, if you want to.
I'd like to nominate Director Hardy for the position.
Okay. And do you accept that nomination, Director Hardy?
It's been very cumbersome for the last 2 meetings and my first 2 meetings, so yeah, sure, no problem. Thanks.
Okay, great. And does someone care to recommend an alternate? Director Hillian.
Thank you, Chair. I'll recommend Director Grieve as alternate.
Okay, so we do have receipt motion on the table, so we'll just dispense with that. Anyone opposed to receipt? And that passes. And the recommendation that Director Hardy be the representative and that Director Grieve be the alternate. Can I move? Thank you. Move that and second that. Now we've got the names together. Someone second that?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we got second now. Any questions? Anyone opposed? Oh, I'm sorry, Director Grieve, do you wish to accept the nomination?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
Perfect, thanks very much. All right. We have 2 names, both have agreed. It's been moved and seconded. Anyone opposed to the recommendation? And that passes unanimously. And now we're gonna do the same thing for the MFA. Last year, the previous appointments were Director McCollum with Director Grieve as an alternate. So we're do we need to receive that? We don't have a receipt motion on this for some reason. So we'll go straight to the recommendation. Would someone like to make a recommendation with both the member and the alternate member, please? Director Grant.
Yeah, I'll move Director McCollum, and can I move Greaves as well at the
Yeah,
same time? And
please do.
Director Greaves as alternate.
And Director McCollum, do you accept? Director Grieve, do you accept? Okay. All right, so that's been moved. Did someone second it? That's now been seconded. Any comment on that? Anyone opposed? And that carries unanimously. Now we're going to move to the ESC. We have recommendation number 1 to approve reducing the side yard setback on an existing single detached home on Andrew Avenue. Does someone care to move that?
Move.
And some second, thank you very much. This is just a vote of the areas. Any commentary on that? Areas A, B, and C, anyone opposed? And that passes. And recommendation number 2, which I'm not going to try to summarize, moved, and someone cares to second. Okay, very quiet on the moving and seconding today. All right, any questions on that? And this is also areas A, B, and C, anyone opposed? And that passes. So we're now on to recommendation number 3. Oh, no. Sorry, CAO, please.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So there are 2 pieces of correspondence on the addendum that relate to this item and tied to recommendations 4 and 5 in the report. And at the board's interest, we would ask that you consider the addendum and then receive those 2 pieces of correspondence. And I can provide some explanation, and I'm sure the directors may want to provide some context around that. So
Second.
That's been moved and seconded. Anyone opposed to varying the agenda to receive correspondence? And that passes. So
thanks, Mr. Chair, and thanks to the board. So these 2 pieces of correspondence, one is from Director Grieve and the other is from Director Hardy. And this relates to yesterday's discussion at the Electrical Area Services Committee about the Union Bay Fire Hall project. At the committee meeting, there was discussion around the funding formula for the Union Bay Fire Hall project. And at the end of that meeting, funds from community works funds were assigned from the Area A allocation towards the Union Bay Fire Hall project. And since that time, you'll see in the two pieces of correspondence, both Directors Grieve and Hardy are also now interested in providing some community works funds towards that project as well. So what we've tried to do is provide all the context and information here between the two pieces of correspondence and the minutes from yesterday's meeting. If the board's interested, we can have further explanation, or you may want to hear from the directors. But the requested action in Director Hardy's correspondence would be the one that staff would be recommending the board support here today, which will incorporate both the commitments made yesterday as well as the interest of Director Grieve and Director Hardy. If the board supports this, then we would also, when we get to the loan authorization bylaw, just ensure that it matches these funding commitments. So if you'd like some more explanation or to walk through the actual funding amounts and whatnot, we can certainly do that. Otherwise, we're available for any other questions.
Second.
All right, that's been first and seconded, and that's the first one, I believe, because I don't have a paper agenda in front of me, was Director Grieve's letter, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is Director Grieve's letter. Number one on your screen, we actually need a motion for receipt to start off, just because we do. Okay, and anyone opposed to that, this receipt is now dealt with. And anyone moving the recommendation? Director Hillian did. And seconded by Director Grieve.
Sorry, I probably wasn't clear enough. Director
Okay, sorry.
Hardy's correspondence is actually the correspondence we would want to see adopted on the record.
Okay,
Because it incorporates both yesterday's Electoral Area Services Committee decision, as well as Director Grieve's request to provide some community works funding, as well as Director Hardy's request to provide community works funding.
so Director, so this item is all inclusive and includes the previous item.
Correct.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that for me. All right, so now we'll do receipt on, we've already received the first one. We're now going to receive this correspondence from Director Hardy. We get a mover and a seconder for receipt. Okay, great. Any questions? Any opposed? That passes, and the requested action is just explained and outlined by the CAO. Okay, moved and seconded. Any questions on that? Just want to thank the two directors for their support of their colleague. That's that kind of generosity and collaboration with the electoral areas is greatly appreciated. All right, anyone opposed to the requested action? Or sorry, Director Arbor, do you wish to speak? Please.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm literally learning this right now because I haven't had time to look at the agenda updates today. Yeah, this is actually huge if what I'm seeing is correct. So I want to really give thanks to Dr. Grieve and Dr. Hardy. To me, it's as significant because of the history in which we have operated. It's as significant as if the town of Comox or the city of Courtenay or the village of Cumberland were contributing to the Union Bay Fire Hall. They are under no obligation to do this, and I think this speaks to their recognition of the incredible high amount of tax pressure and regional significance of the South area, especially in our partnership with Comox First Nation. And so the fact that the areas are willing to do this is, to me, that's something I'll definitely bring up at the town hall in Union Bay in acknowledgement of your contribution. And I will speak often about it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for those words. And again, I echo, I just like so pleased to see this collaboration and mutual support. And hopefully it's a inspiring example for the rest of the board for the rest of our term. All right, so the requested action is on the table. Anyone opposed? And that carries unanimously. And now we're going back up the agenda. Don't get dizzy. To recommendation number 4, the Union Bay Fire Protection Service Loan Authorization Bylaw number 844 for consideration of 3 readings. All right, that's moved and seconded. And CAO?
Thanks. And just to follow on from the previous recommendation the board just approved, this loan authorization bylaw, when you get to the bylaws section and provide readings to it, we would recommend that it be updated to align with the the $2.755 million that would be financed through that loan authorization bylaw, just for consistency's sake. So what's presented on the agenda was constructed following yesterday's electrical area services committee. Given the additional contribution of community works funds, we'd like to update that loan authorization bylaw to be consistent. So I'll make that note again when we get to the bylaw section.
All right, so currently on recommendation number 4, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Anyone opposed? And that carries. Recommendation number 5. Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Any questions, comments? Anyone opposed? That passes. We now have some minutes for the sewage commission for, thank you. Anyone have questions? Anyone opposed? That carries. Public hearing minutes from October 28th. And someone second. All right, any questions? Anyone opposed? That passes. Now the bylaw. And so CAO, if you want to just frame that for us.
Sure. So what's presented on the agenda here and the attachment is the Union Bay Fire Protection Service Loan Authorization Bylaw. And what is attached is recommending borrowing at the funding level that was supported at the Electrical Area Services Committee yesterday. So staff would recommend that you give first and second readings to that bylaw, and then a subsequent resolution to amend the bylaw at second reading to adjust the borrowing amount to $2.755 million. And then thirdly, provide third reading to the bylaw as amended.
All right, so in recommendation 1, we would do the first and second readings, then we would do the amendment, then we would do the third readings. Okay, so first and second readings, if someone. Okay, and we have a speaker on that, Director Arbor.
Yeah, thanks. Because this issue is moving so fast in a day, I just would ask for the board just to double check. I just want to make sure that we've got everything aligned. So there was currently, prior to yesterday's board meeting, a $1.1 million pre-allocation of community works funds dating from last year to the project. Yesterday, we added a further 640,000 from Area A, 600,000 from Area A, and today this was matched by Area B and C. So this would means that it's 1.2, and the community works that were already there was 1.1. So now it's 3.3 million. Is that the final number then? That's of community works fund that will go towards the federal?
Sure, Lucy, if you. Yeah, Lucy Wichark, our Chief
Yeah,
Financial
thank
Officer,
you
will
for
just,
indulging.
confirm that.
2.3, not 3.3.
Thank you through the chair. So with the revisions, with the $1.2 million now in additional community works funds, that brings our community works funds contributions to $2.3 million.
$2.3 million. That's amazing. Thank you. So, and thanks for your work, Lucy.
Okay, so we have first and second readings have been moved and seconded. Any further questions? Anyone opposed? And that passes unanimously, and I will now pass it to our CAO for the exact phrasing of the amendment, make sure we get it right.
So thanks. The wording we would recommend is that the bylaw 844, being the Union Bay Fire Protection Service Loan Authorization Bylaw, be amended at second reading to reflect a maximum borrowing amount of $2.755 million.
Second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments? Anyone opposed to the amendment? That carries unanimously. And sorry, what?
And then following the amendment would be third reading
Yeah.
as amended.
Just about to do that, but so we're now done with the amendments that passed unanimously. Now we're going to third reading. Someone cares to move that? Moved and seconded. Excellent. Any commentary on that, Director Arbor?
Yeah, thanks. And these comments, I know some folks in Union Bay will watch, and that's directed to the residents. So we're, with what we're passing today and the next one, we'll be moving to AEP for the fire hall in the new year. And I know there's been a lot of questions about the fire hall and for a long time. And I think that with what's happened today, I think residents will be really pleased that there's significant outside contribution coming to the fire hall. And there's also an open house that's being planned by staff at the end of the month to inform the community about the design and all the different aspects. So I'm really happy with today's outcome. Thank you.
All right, seeing no further speakers, we're now voting on third reading. Anyone opposed? That carries unanimously. Now on to recommendation 2, bylaw number 856 for Union Bay. This is for first and second reading. Moved and seconded. Any questions on that? Anyone opposed? That passes unanimously. And now for third reading. Moved and seconded. Thanks very much. Anyone opposed? And that passes unanimously. We're now moving on to the Rural Comox Valley zoning bylaw number 520 for third reading. That's been moved and seconded. Any questions on that? Anyone opposed? That passes. And now final adoption of that same bylaw. Moved. Seconded. Thank you very much. Anyone opposed? That passes and that's finally adopted. And more for adoption here. This is the Black Creek Oyster Bay Fire Protection Local Service Area Conversion Establishment bylaw number 9. Okay, that's being moved and seconded. Anyone opposed? That carries. And then we have we're not doing that, correct? CAO? This is sorry, is this deferred?
No, that deferral was just the code of conduct.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, okay, great. So the remuneration bylaw for final adoption. Okay, thanks, McCollum and Hillian. And that's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Anyone opposed? And that passes. And we've already done the addendum. So we will now adjourn to in camera. Moved and someone to second that. Any opposed to going in camera? And we will do that. We'll just pause for a minute to secure the room.